It is human nature to explore, push boundaries, and try out new things. And in this webinar, we will show you how to supercharge NinjaTrader so that you can come up with your own creations and build custom indicators and strategies. And for this, we will use Bloodhound and Blackbird, two popular add-ons for NinjaTrader. And how this all works, we will find out in the next hour or so. My name is Daniel Sinek, and I will be your host tonight. I am super excited because this was a topic which was requested by you for a long time. And finally, we are able to show you how to use Bloodhound, Blackbird, and other tools to create your own custom solutions for NinjaTrader. But before we get started, a quick reminder, as a trader, you should be familiar that trading contains risk and is not suited for every investor. If you trade, make sure to only use risk capital, which should you lose it, it will not affect your lifestyle. When it comes to hypothetical performance or back test results, keep in mind that these are not necessarily indicative of future performance. All right, so tonight I will be joined by Homer and Nicholas. In fact, Nicholas will be doing most of the presentation tonight, and Homer will be manning the chat along with me. And if you have questions along the way, feel free to write them into the chat window. I'll be happy to look over them, to answer them on the fly, or perhaps bring them to the attention of Nicholas so that he can show you the answers live during his presentation. And a quick reminder, if you're not familiar with us and what we do, we are tradingindicators.com, your favorite online store. And as the name suggests, we provide trading solutions, trading indicators for most platforms out there, including NinjaTrader, but we also support TradingView, Motivate, TradeStation, Thinkorswim, MetaStock, MetaTrader, and so forth. And over the years, we have built more than 500 trading indicators and automated strategies. And we have clients all over the world, and we've built our tools for retail clients, for investors, for trading educators, for institutions, and so forth. And our mission is to help our clients to make better trading decisions using our tools. Now, should you need to drop off in between, or perhaps you joined a bit late, do not worry. All our sessions are being recorded, and once rendered, they will be published on our YouTube channel. If you're wondering where is this YouTube channel, well, simply go to our homepage, www.tradingindicators.com. In the top right corner, you'll find a YouTube icon. Click on it, and it will get you directly to our YouTube channel. And in there, you'll find all previous recordings as well as other videos. For example, if we give a webinar or present a new tool out of schedule, all these will be published as well on our YouTube channel. All right, so a quick review. What has happened in the last 2 weeks? Well, a few things have happened, and in particular, we have published, in fact, today, a new version, a slightly revised version of 1-2-3 Strike for NinjaTrader. And again, this was by request from one of our users who wanted that the IET, the statistics for long trades and short trades, to be exposed so that you can take advantage of this information when building your own strategies. For example, only trade when the IET, when the statistics are in your favor, and if they are not, then do not trade. So you could use these as a filter. And in addition to this, we have also exposed the trend direction. As you know, our 1-2-3 Strike indicator is a trend indicator, and it will only take buy signals if we are on an uptrend, or if the indicator senses that we are in an uptrend, and it will only take short trades when we are in a downtrend. And which trend we're in is indicated by the candle color of this indicator. So it is either greenish or reddish. If it's greenish, we are in an uptrend, and otherwise we are in a downtrend. We've also exposed this information now so that you can reuse it when creating your own strategies, or perhaps use our indicator in tools like Bloodhound or Blackbird. And the second update that we have published also today is for Divergence Cloud. Again, we have now made available our long and short statistics so that you can use it. And we've also exposed the divergence, if any, to the outside world. For example, whether we have bullish or bearish divergence or no divergence at all. This is also now made available for you so that you can reuse it in your own creations. You may wonder, how can we create our own creations? Well, as we will see today, there are actually so many ways how a NinjaTrader can be used to that purpose. Some ways come with built-in indicators in NinjaTrader itself, and other ones require third-party tools such as Bloodhound and Blackbird. And exactly this will be the topic of today. How can we supercharge NinjaTrader so that you can come up with your own creations? Okay, so everybody, please get comfortably seated and let's get started. Now, what do I mean, first of all, by supercharging NinjaTrader 8? Well, simply put, it is all about getting the most out of your indicators. NinjaTrader comes with a variety of built-in indicators, for example, an SMA, an EMA, an RSI, a MACD, a stochastics, and so forth. So there are hundreds of indicators already built in. But of course, for NinjaTrader, there also exists a variety of third-party indicators. For example, our very own Super Trend Bullseye indicator, our Power Bundle indicators, for example, or our Super Signals indicators, and many, many more. So these are already available. But sometimes this is just not enough, or perhaps you have an idea of how to combine two third-party indicators into one indicator. Well, guess what? This is all possible with NinjaTrader 8. But, little word of warning, it requires a little bit of work. Not too much, as we will see. Things can be done fairly quickly, but a bit of work is required on your end. Now, for example, you could use, and we've demoed this throughout many occasions in our previous webinars, you could use the NT8 strategy builder to click together your fully automated strategy for NinjaTrader without any programming knowledge. This is already possible with NT8. No extra tools are available for this because this strategy builder is included in your NT8 installation. If you know coding, or if you're a programmer, you could also use the Ninja Script Editor, which is also built into NinjaTrader, to program your own creations. This could be an indicator which is based, for example, on the output of one of our indicators, or perhaps something brand new. But of course, this requires programming skills. And if you don't have them, well, this might be a bit difficult. Now, but there are also two third-party tools which are very popular, which allow you to create your own indicators. It's the first one here, or your own strategies. And these tools are called Bloodhound and Blackbird. And these have been developed by a third party called Shark Indicators. And today's webinar, we are going to show you how to use these two tools to create your own custom indicator or your own custom strategy. All right, so Bloodhound. Bloodhound is the first tool we're going to look at. And it is an indicator, it is a tool designed so that you can create your own indicators. And some people may refer to it as a signal designer because you can create your own custom signals. So for example, you could create a new indicator using Bloodhound, for example, which looks at the RSI. Maybe the RSI needs to be oversold, below 30. Our 1, 2, 3 strike indicator needs to have a buy signal, and we need to have a bullish divergence as indicated by our Divergence Cloud indicator. And you want to have your own custom creation where all these three conditions must be true before this indicator fires or gives you a signal. Well, in Bloodhound, guess what? You can do all this using drag and drop within minutes. We're going to showcase this today. So this is Bloodhound. Remember, a tool to design your own indicators. But now we also have Blackbird. Blackbird's mission is not to design an indicator. And as you can imagine, if it's not an indicator, it must be, well, I guess a strategy. And this is exactly what Blackbird does. It is basically a trade manager on steroids for NinjaTrader 8. And as such, you can use it to define or to define a strategy based on certain trade entry conditions. For example, based on your own custom indicator which you have built in Bloodhound, or perhaps some indicator which already exists. It allows you to do your own risk and position management or money management. And it will also manage your exits, which can be based on fairly complex logic. Remember, entering into a trade is only one thing, but once you're in a trade, you must exit your trade, which is just as important. And all this is possible with Blackbird. And again, just with a few mouse clicks. All right, so without further ado, Nicholas, are you there for our presentation, for the main part of this presentation?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Awesome. All right, so please take it away from here and walk us through what you have planned for us today.
Sure. And Daniel, at any time, let me know if I cut in and out because my internet might be a bit unstable.
Awesome, will do. Hopefully it will hold on. It will hold.
Yes. So we're going to go through a couple strategies and how we can set up the signals for them based on our indicators. And we're going to set them up with Bloodhound, the signal designer, and then we're going to move into Blackbird and see how we can actually take trades based on those signals and manage them. So the first strategy or signals we're going to try and design.
Let me quickly also, sorry for the interruption, stop sharing so you can share your own screen. Give me a second. All right.
Perfect. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can. All right.
Okay, so the first strategy we're going to demo is going to be based on Divergence Cloud, which is our reversals indicator. And this strategy is going to enter when Divergence Cloud has a long or short entry signal, like you can see here and here. And it'll exit at either the first or final scaled or partial exit that the indicator signals. And we might also add in a trailing stop. The strategy will also exit any trade if there is a reverse entry. So if it's long, it will go short and vice versa if an opposing entry signal is triggered. So let's move over to NinjaTrader now. And we're going to start. I'm on the 5-minute chart on Microsoft MSFT right now. And we're going to start by opening up Bloodhound. So Bloodhound is an indicator. We right click on the chart, go to indicators, and it'll be in the Shark indicators menu right here. I'm using the full trial. So if you want, it has a great 30-day trial, both Bloodhound and Blackbird, if you do not already have them. So I'll double click on Bloodhound full trial here and click OK. It'll apply to the chart. And this is where we'll see our signals down here popping up in this subplot down here. But we have no logic defined, so nothing's there. And at the top, we see these two options that popped in. This logic drop down and then an empty template. So we have nothing. What we need to do is click on the empty templates. It'll load up a new window where we can now start building our signals. And this is that drag and drop interface that Daniel was talking about. Now, in our case, we want to use something. Well, we want to look at the Divergence Cloud indicator, and we want to know when is it triggering its entry and exit signals, right? Now, the way to do this in Bloodhound is to use something called a threshold solver. So I can right click on the chart and go to solvers. You can see there's tons of stuff we can play with. We can go right down to threshold. And our threshold is going to be based on an indicator. Now I'm going to call it Divergence Cloud entries. And the behavior of this threshold, we come down here. I scroll down. See, it's going to be based on an indicator type. We're going to use indicator value. And the indicator, click these 3 dots, the ellipses right here, is going to be Divergence Cloud. So I come to trading indicators, double click on Divergence Cloud AO. And now Bloodhound wants me to tell it what is my long signal here and what is my short signal. What's coming from the indicator represents a long signal and what represents a short signal. So we need to select that over here. And here you see all the plots listed from Divergence Cloud AO. Now our long logic for this entry is going to be the long entry plot. So that's already checked. And for our short logic, it's going to be the short entry plot. So I'm going to click short right here. Now what this will do is whenever there is a long entry in Divergence Cloud AO, it's basically going to show a positive value on the Bloodhound graph. And when there's a short entry, it's going to show a negative value. Now, the next thing we need to do is come down to our threshold settings. So if you're using any of our indicators in Bloodhound, you need to know this, and it's also applicable in Blackbird, is that for thresholds, you need to open up the options here, click the ellipses. So when we get our long signal, our long entry plot in Divergence Cloud AO is going to be greater than 0. But what Bloodhound and Blackbird assume is that when you get your short entry signal, that value is going to be less than 0. In our indicators, that's not the case. When there's a short entry, it simply shows up at the price of execution of the short entry, which will always be greater than 0 because it represents the price of an asset. So you want to switch that always from less than to greater than for your short threshold logic. So you'll see me doing this all the time with every indicator as a as a reflex, something we always need to do. So now if I connect this threshold, which should be giving me signals based on the long and short entries of DivCloud AO, if I connect that into my results, I should see something show up on the chart. And we see we get these what are called racing stripes. So this would have been a long entry in Divergence Cloud AO. This would have been a short entry, short, long, etc. So that is our entry logic. So I'm going to call this logic tab. You see this tab up here. And click rename. And I'm going to call this long logic. So we know our long logic for Divergence Cloud. Now we need to have our exit logic. And if we go back to the slide, we said that would have been on our first or final partial exit that Divergence Cloud takes. So I'm going to open up a new tab, click new logic.
Nicholas, real quick, why did you call it long logic? Should it be like entry logic instead?
Oh, excuse me. Yeah, that's a good point. Entry logic. Perfect. Thank you. Let me rename this. Entry logic. Much better name. Okay. And then in this new logic tab, we're going to call this exit logic. Exit logic. So instead of going through all the steps I just went through before, I can actually just Control-C and paste that in here. And this will now be called exit or Divergence Cloud exit. And what we need to change is in the indicator settings for this, we no longer want to get a signal generated on a long entry or a short entry, right? We want now to generate an exit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, I want my exit signal generated at every long partial exit. So if I'm long, I want a long exit triggered at the long partial exit marker on the chart. And for the short, I'll do the same thing. So we're no longer looking at entries here. We're looking at partial exits. So I've selected those. I click OK. And there's something we need to do. Click here that we'll see will be relevant in Blackbird later, but I'm just going to cover it now. Is what I did right there, if you noticed, I clicked for the long signal. I wanted a long partial exit, and the short signal, I wanted a short partial exit. But the way that Bloodhound and Blackbird will interpret this is that I'm kind of wanting an extra long. I want to add to a long position since I selected this in the long column. It's going to come out as a positive signal, a green racing stripe. And Blackbird's not going to initially interpret that as an exit. So all we need to do is click swap. So I did it this way to keep it clear to us. That's our long exit. That's our short exit. But for Blackbird to interpret it properly, you just need to click swap. So Blackbird will know that these are actually exits, not entries. Okay. So I have my exit and my entry logic saved here. I'm going to click exit. And now I have to save my template. So this is crucial. You always want to save all of your templates in Bloodhound and Blackbird. I'll call this Divergence Cloud entry exit. All right, so we've got this template saved here. And what I'm going to do now is open up the Divergence Cloud indicator onto the chart. And we'll see how these signals actually match up with what Divergence Cloud is doing.
Yeah, you always want to do this to double check that whatever you have designed actually matches your expectations and it matches the signals of the indicator.
Definitely. So up here in our logic dropdown, we have entry logic and exit logic. So if I click entry logic, it should be highlighting all of the entry signals of Divergence Cloud AO, which we see it's doing. Red on the short, green on the long, etc. And if we look at our exit logic, it should be highlighting all of the partial exits. So we see here, because we did that swap logic, that when we get a long partial exit, it's a red bar, which is kind of signifying a sell action, right? And here it would have been a buy, like a cover for this short partial exit. So now we have all that logic defined. I'm confident it's working properly. What we do now is we open up Blackbird. So we're going to see how can we actually backtest these signals if we wanted to trade them. So I right click on the chart and go to strategies, hop over to Shark indicators and double click Blackbird. And I'm going to click backtest mode so that it shows all the historical signals and we can have a look to see things are performing properly. I always like to enable debug messages in case there's some sort of problem. And I don't want to exit on session close, so I'm going to disable that. And the next thing we need to do for Blackbird to show up at all is we need to click enable. So now that this is enabled, I'll click OK. We're going to have this trading little column on the right pop in this panel. And what we're going to do now is, as you can see, no trades are being taken on the chart. There's no logic. We're going to come down and click order settings. And this will open up a new window, like in Bloodhound, but for Blackbird. And we need to define what are the signals that we are going to trade. And ours is very simple. We're just trading based on some Bloodhound signals we generated that are on the chart, right? So we click signal, Bloodhound signal. I'm going to click here. I'll call these my Divergence Cloud signals. And we don't have to do much work. We just click the ellipses. And remember, I created this file called Divergence Cloud entry exit. I double click that. And now I'm going to be able to use those templates, those tabs I generated. So for my entry signal template, I just need to click entry logic. And for my exit signal template, exit logic. Now, if I click OK, or if I get out of there, now I need to associate some orders to be taken with that. I'm going to take a market entry. And I'll leave the order size at 1. And we'll see what happens when I click OK. Just need to click F5 to refresh the chart now that the new logic is in. And after some short loading, we should see some strategy orders taken. Okay. Second. Okay. So, see if this makes sense. We need to double check to make sure everything is working properly. Here we got a buy market entry down at this Divergence Cloud signal. Then we had a long exit, closing our long at that first partial exit signal. Here we had a short entry, which closed at the bar following this partial exit. Here we had a short entry closing, a long entry closing after this partial exit. To me, everything looks like it is working as it should. Here we had a short entry, and it closed our short after it got the partial exit signal.
Maybe just a quick comment from my end. If you are wondering why the entry and also the exit seems to be always 1 bar late, well, this is just the nature of the game, because at the close of the bar, an entry or an exit signal will be generated. But then the bars are already closed. So the earliest you can act on it is the open tick of the next bar. This is exactly what's happening here. So basically, after each signal comes in, you can either open your trade at the open tick of the next bar or close your trade at the open tick of the next bar. So this is by design and on purpose.
Yeah. And now that we know our strategy is working correctly, we can hop in and see if it did any well. So I'll right click on the chart, go to strategy performance, Blackbird, look at the historical performance. So you'll get your usual statistics that you would get in NinjaTrader, like you would from a backtest or an optimization. So the total number of trades, the percent profitable. Here in this case, it was a good profit factor, 2.04, with pretty stable or equal results on both sides, despite the fairly small amount of trades, 61. So this was a promising little strategy system that we tried here. And with the auto optimization features of Divergence Cloud, the good thing is that they're functional with the strategy builder in NinjaTrader and also Blackbird. So when we built this strategy, if we had defined the logic for Divergence Cloud to use the reoptimization feature, so I'm opening up Divergence Cloud settings here, we have optimize on load, and we have automatically reoptimize automatically. So if we had checked this and told Divergence Cloud to reoptimize every 5 bars, which would be 25 minutes in this case, Then as the strategy moves forward, Divergence Cloud AO is going to be re-optimizing itself, getting new signals or new settings, better settings, and the strategy will adapt to those and trade those as they come in, so long as you also enabled automatic re-optimization in Divergence Cloud settings within Blackbird and Bloodhound. And if you don't know at all what I'm talking about, if you haven't heard of these indicators before, these indicators optimize themselves to find the best possible settings and give you an idea of their win rate percentages.
Yeah, that's a good point. So if you're a first-time listener to our webinars, you may be a bit lost. You might not know what these indicators are, but don't worry. If you want to know more information, you can either check out our YouTube channel. We have plenty of videos posted there on how to, what these indicators are all about, how they function, how you can dial them in for your own purposes, or you simply reach out to us and we'll be happy to discuss these indicators for you or with you.
Perfect. And thank you for the mention, David Simmons. You mentioned that once I have my logic from Bloodhound and Blackbird, you can remove Bloodhound from the chart to clean it up a bit. You don't need twice the racing stripes down here.
Yeah, and we had a question from Mark. How can Blackbird make a strategy analyze or optimize? Is that possible?
I don't know. As far as I know, no, there's no analysis or optimization built into Blackbird.
But yeah, that's also my understanding. So I did have a discussion with one of the creators of a Blackbird, and this was more than 2 years ago, but he told me at that point that no, you cannot use the optimizer for strategies created in Blackbird, but that's just the nature of the game. So every tool will have some limitations. So of course also Blackbird and Bloodhound do have their limitations, but I believe the benefits of using these tools, they may outweigh these limitations. And more importantly, perhaps with our indicators, you will not need to use the strategy optimization function because they will optimize themselves. So you always get the optimal signals.
Exactly. So kind of it tackles that problem that it's going to be optimized. The indicator will do the optimization and Blackbird will just listen to it.
Yes. Perfect.
So one other thing we can do, if you're trading something like Divergence Cloud, you might be worried about drawdown. So we always recommend managing your own stops with Divergence Cloud and 123 strike because you don't know where the next exit will be. So something you can take advantage of in Blackbird is the very handy profit targets and stop losses that are very easy to set up. So I can open up my Blackbird settings again here and quickly tack on some sort of trailing stop if I'd like. So I can tack on a ATR-based trailing stop. Pops up this window here, which is giving me 1.5, a factor of 1.5, the ATR trailing stop. I can increase that to something like 4 and see how that would play out in my strategy. We'll run it and see, if that improved the results. We should see some trades being exited by the trailing stop, hopefully. So here we would have had a winner, but it got closed by our trailing stop, etc. So there's a lot of stuff for you to play with in Blackbird. But without further ado, I'm going to move on to the next
Nicholas,
strategy.
Real quick, just a comment from my end, because, our 123 strike indicator, but also our Divergence Cloud indicator, which you can see right now here. Some users always say, oh man, sometimes the drawdown in between while the trade is open might be quite big, and I'm not comfortable with it. I would like to supplement it with my own exit logic, which does not necessarily follow the exit sequence of the indicator. Well, now you have the tool to do so. You can simply use Blackbird to define your own trading stop, for example, perhaps some other type of exit logic to manage your risk the way you want it to be managed. And whether this is beneficial in terms of trade performance or not, that's a different question. But at least now you can try it out. You can add this logic easily into your trading system, and then you can use the strategy performance report to check if the performance has improved or perhaps got worse.
Definitely. And what we're going to see with Super Trend Bullseye coming up in a bit is that you can also make stop losses based on your own indicators, the plots from them. Shark Indicators has many hundreds of workshop videos as well to show you the full breadth of things you can do with Blackbird on their YouTube channel.
Yeah, and Juan was just asking how many trades were taken and what was the total profit. Yeah. So maybe let's take out the ATR stop loss out and let's see what it would have been just using the sequence of our indicator.
And remember, we also took our exits on the first partial exit, so we can play around with that as well. If we want to take it at the last one, a lot of things to play with. but historical results for this case, there was 61 trades. And I think I'm only loading maybe 15 days on the 5 minutes or something like that. But the profit factor 2.04, and it had good statistics for what it was. For just an example idea. Okay. Are there any questions, Daniel, or can I move forward to the next demo?
Yeah,
demo?
Let's move forward.
Okay, so the next strategy I would like to show is the Volatility Crusher AO strategy indicator. And I'm going to combine it in a very minimal way with 1, 2, 3 strike, just to show how you can tie together indicators. So this strategy is going to enter on Volatility Crusher's entry signals, and it'll exit when price either hits Volatility Crusher's second profit target or its trailing stop, or there is a 1, 2, 3 entry signal in the opposing direction of the open trade. So let's hop over to NinjaTrader. If we are lagging, okay, I'm going to remove what I have on this chart, super trend bullseye. And I'm going to apply our 2 indicators right away to start off, which are 1, 2, 3 strike AO and Volatility Crusher AO. And in the meantime, I'll also put on Bloodhound, but I'm not going to open it just yet. Okay. So now let's click OK. Let's wait for these indicators to load on the chart. So the logic of our little strategy here is that when we get one of these entry signals, like this yellow triangle here from Volatility Crusher, this is a short entry, we would go short, and then we would exit down here when we hit our second profit target, or we would exit, let's say in this case, when we hit our trailing stop right here. And if we have an outstanding long or short trade, and 1, 2, 3 strike has one of its signals, which are these green and red triangles in the opposite direction, then we would exit. So what I'm going to do is we'll open up a new template in Bloodhound. And to start, we're going to define our entry logic. So I'll call this tab entry logic. Okay. And we're going to add one of those solvers again, a threshold solver. And this solver is the only entry solver we need, which is based on Volatility Crusher, because that defines our entries. Come down here and double click on Volatility Crusher AO. And in the plot selection, click long entry for my long and short entry for my short. Click OK. And if you remember, the next thing we do is we come down here and we change the threshold setting so that it's greater than 0. We need that on our short signals and our indicators. So we click OK, drag this in, and we should get some racing stripes showing on the chart that match up with our Volatility Crusher entry signals. We can see that is the case. They're matching up. Great. And now we're going to create a new logic tab, which will be our exit logic. And our exit logic, if you remember, occurs when either we hit our second target or trailing stop in Volatility Crusher. So I'm going to copy over this threshold solver from our entry to our exit because it's associated with Volatility Crusher already. So I'm going to click on the indicator settings here. And we're not looking for long entries or short entries. In this case, we are looking for long exits or short exits. Because a long exit in Volatility Crusher, this plot, happens when we hit our second target or our stop loss. The long partial exit happens when we hit our first target. So we're going to select long exit and short exit. And because these are exits, again, we're going to click swap. Going to drag that into here. Actually, not yet, because we forgot one thing. I'm going to copy paste this threshold and I'm going to name them so it's clear. So Volatility Crusher exit. And our other idea for an exit was opposing 1, 2, 3 entry. So if 1, 2, 3 strike had an entry signal, we wanted it to exit as well. So the indicator for this threshold doesn't need to be Volatility Crusher. It should be 1, 2, 3 strike AO. Go to trading indicators, 1, 2, 3 strike AO. And for our long exits, we want that to happen when actually should, do we need to use the swap function? Long entry. If there's a short entry in 1, 2, 3 strike, we want that to be a long signal. We want it to be a long exit in the strategy. And if there is a long entry on 1, 2, 3 strike, we want that to be a short exit in our strategy. So kind of confusing, but if they are opposing, then they are an exit. And now we've got that swapped already. Let me just go over that quickly to make sure that's correct. So if we're long and we get a short entry, that's a long exit. Yeah, we're good. So now I want both of these things to be true. So if either of these things happen, I want there to be an exit. So what we'll do is we'll add what's called a logic node. Right click and go to logic, and we'll click or. So if either or if one of these things happens, basically, one or the other, I connect them in. So if we have an opposing 1, 2, 3 strike entry, or we have a volatility crusher, final exit, then that is our exit logic. And we should get racing stripes for that on our chart. And now I'm going to save this and I'll call it volatility crusher 1, 2, 3 entry exits. So we know what it is. And I'm going to close and let's see if I did that properly, if we have proper logic here. So here we would have hit our second profit target on volatility crusher, which would have been a long exit, a buy, a short exit, a buy, a cover. Here, if we had a long entry signal on 1, 2, 3 strike, that also would have been the end of a short trade. So that also would have been a cover. It's a buy. That's good. But here we have a 1, 2, 3 strike short entry. That's giving us a sell. That's good as well, because it's an opposing entry. Okay. So I think our logic in Bloodhound is set up reliably well. Now we're going to go to strategies, right click and click strategies and open up Blackbird finally. So again, we're going to disable exit on session close, turn on backtest mode, don't disable the debug messages, and enable it. Click OK. Okay. Now we'll open up order settings and we're just going to again use a Bloodhound signal. So we click here. We're going to load our template file that we just created. Go back there. Volatility crusher 1, 2, 3. And for our entry signal template, we want our entry logic, and our exit signal, we want our exit logic. Our order set, we're just going to have one lot, one unit taken, and we can click OK. So once this loads, I can now click F5 to refresh, and hopefully our strategy will look like it makes sense once it's done calculating. Okay, so here we get rid of Bloodhound so we have a little less stuff on the chart. Move. Okay. So here we bought at market because we had a long entry signal. Then we hit the second profit target and we closed the long on the next bar. So that made sense. Here we had a short entry after this signal. And we stayed short until price crossed above the trailing stop and we exited on the next available bar. Find one more example, hopefully where we have an opposing signal on 1, 2, 3 strike. Sell market. I don't think we had one of those conditions here in this case, but I'm confident that the logic was working as we aren't getting any mistaken exits or entries. And of course, you can go and check on your performance here. I don't think this was over a long amount of time. Yeah, there was 4 trades. So it had 3 long winning trades, 1 long losing trade. And there wasn't much data. Maybe hopefully we can load some more data in here. 60-minute chart across 60 days. Let's try 180 days. This might take a moment to load. So in the meantime, Daniel, are there any questions?
Sorry. Yes, there's a question by Mark. And to the best of your knowledge, Nicholas, is it possible to create an indicator, custom indicator in Bloodhound, and then use this one in the strategy builder by NinjaTrader?
Ooh, I have no idea, unfortunately. Maybe it would be possible by loading the template inside of the strategy builder, but I really don't know. I would assume no, but maybe another user has experience with this already.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, no other questions so far. So let's have a look at the performance.
Cross our fingers. Oh, very good. We got 4.16 profit factor, still only 17 trades. But decent win rate. So things are looking good here on this one. And of course, we could enable auto reoptimization going forward so that we would always continuously have the best settings being adjusted automatically to our strategy.
And Nicholas, there's a nice comment from Ben. I think it will make you smile. He's he's asking or wondering, what type of CPU are you using? Because it seems to be so fast.
Oh, this is like a 2014 laptop, actually, I think. So it's not too crazy, but it's doing well. It's plugging along.
Yeah, great. And
Okay.
there's one thing I wanted to clarify, because a user was asking a very interesting question regarding re-optimization. So let's say you have, in our previous example, we had Divergence Cloud, which we use the entries of Divergence Cloud for entry and the first exit to close out the trade. But if re-optimization is enabled, it might be the case that we have an entry of Divergence Cloud, but then because of re-optimized parameters, the indicator might be already in a flat state because things have changed. How would this be handled?
Trailing stop. Oh, sorry, Daniel. I thought you were asking me. Go ahead.
Yeah, it could also be a question to you, but what you would need to do is to not use both the entry and the exit of the indicator for your trade management, but only perhaps one of them, maybe only the entry, and then the exit is handled by maybe a trading stop or perhaps some other exit mechanism, which is not based on our Divergence Cloud indicator, which is re-optimization. Because if re-optimization is enabled, you want to make sure that you will get you'll only use the indicator for entry, but not for exit, because it might be the case that the exit conditions may not appear anymore because the indicator has re-optimized itself, and therefore it might be in a flat state while you're still waiting for an exit signal because your trade is open.
For sure. And Daniel, something on that note that we have discussed in the past about as a future feature, what we think would be good for NinjaTrader is having auto re-optimization on trade close. So that might be something that comes in the future that would totally solve that, that you would only auto re-optimize once the trade is fully closed. So that situation pretty much becomes impossible.
Yeah, good point. And a few more questions here. Mark wants to know, can you have input parameters in Bloodhound?
Input parameters. Yes. So there's a lot up here. You have risk management parameters. I haven't looked too far into this, but
he's
I know
referring to Bloodhound, to the actual signal
Bloodhound,
designer.
sorry. Bloodhound. Let's open up Bloodhound here.
And I think he's referring to, can you parameterize your underlying indicators, for example, volatility crusher?
That's a good question. I don't know.
I believe so. If you click on it and if you go down, there should be a way to parameterize your indicator. So you can see here, you can put the look back period, the smoothing period, and so forth.
These things, yes, definitely. You can set the settings for any indicator. That's for sure.
Yeah, I think that was the question. Okay.
Oh, okay. All right. So I'm going to hop over back to the PowerPoint. So here we are. So if you want these indicators, Daniel, if you want to take over.
Yes, great. So if you don't have our Divergence Cloud indicator yet, or our 1, 2, 3 strike indicator, or our volatility crusher indicator, we have a special bundle which contains all three indicators, which is called the Power Bundle. And as the name says, it's a very powerful bundle because it has all these three indicators, and they all come with auto optimization, which Nicholas has already shown, which basically will find the best parameters for you. It also has re-optimization, as we mentioned. And what we have not even looked at today is it also has statistics directly on the chart, which will show you how well the indicators are working for a particular symbol or time frame. So if you're interested in this, we do have a special offer where we give away a lifetime package of these three indicators of the Power Bundle for only $9.95. And if you're interested, simply go to our homepage, www.tradingindicators.com/power, which will bring you directly to the product page for these three indicators, and you can take advantage of this lifetime offer which we have currently going on. And a quick reminder, we do offer a 7-day money-back guarantee. We know it's a lot of money, so if you just want to try those out, you can do it risk-free. And if you're not satisfied after 7 days, you can request a refund, no questions asked.
Perfect. So I'm going to hop into the next demo without further ado. And this one, I'm going to be using our Super Signals AO indicator, the premium version in this case, but it won't make a difference if you use the other. And what this strategy will do is it's going to enter on some of the super signal entries. I'm going to use the gold and silver signals, and it will exit using ATR-based targets and trailing stops. So I'll go back over to NinjaTrader here.
And Nicholas, while you open this up, a quick note, what are actually our super signals? Well, we thought, our power bundle indicators they're pretty good, but maybe we can even bring it one step further. And we were thinking about confluence. What if two of our indicators are forecasting the same price move? Or what if all three of them are forecasting the same price move? And then trading, we call this confluence. Multiple indicators are forecasting the same thing. And we've seen that if this is happening, if the stars align, so to say, really nice things can occur. And we've created an indicator around this concept, which is called the super signals indicator, which you basically find these situations of confluence. And depending on what it is, you either get a bronze signal, a silver signal, a gold signal, which are these really big things there, or in very rare circumstances, a platinum signal. I don't think we have a platinum signal here, but these are very rare. But if they occur, it means that all three indicators agree on the same price move on the same bar. And this is the idea behind our super signals indicator, which you can see on the chart here.
Yeah, I've got it here on the chart, and you can see in the left, I have this panel, and this is actually the premium version of it. So it includes all three of our power bundle indicators. So we've seen all three today: volatility, pressure, divergence, cloud, and 1, 2, 3 strike. It includes all three built into the same indicator. So I can actually click or choose to show any of those three indicators and hide them as I will. And like Daniel said, these super signals are based on confluence. So a gold signal occurs when two of the indicators signal the same thing on the same bar. So if I have a gold signal here, I know that two of these indicators signaled a short on that bar. So we see here 1, 2, 3 strike signaled a short, if I show it, and Divergence Cloud also signaled a short. So that's why we had a gold signal there. But without further ado, I'm going to hop into the strategy now. So I have the super signals indicator applied to the chart, and I'm now going to apply Bloodhound, and we're going to create some entry logic based on them. So I'll go to my indicators, Shark indicators, Bloodhound. Okay. And we'll open up a new template. And I'm going to ignore the bronze signals. In this case, I'm just going to focus on gold and silver signals, which are a little bit more rare and higher probability of success. So I'll right click and create one of those threshold solvers. And the first threshold solver I'm going to create will be called silver signals. And in the indicator selection, I'm going to select the super signals AO indicator. It doesn't matter if I use the premium or the regular, but I'll just show for demonstration purpose that if you have the premium version, you can reference all the super signals, but you also have access to all of the plots and the statistics from all three of the power bundle indicators in there as well. But in this case, we don't need all that. We just need the simple version of super signals. So I'll select that indicator. And here we're doing silver signals. So for our long logic, we want a long silver super signal, and short logic, a silver short signal. I'll click OK. And as usual, we come into our settings. We change the threshold for short signals to greater than 0. Okay, so now I can duplicate this. And this threshold is going to be, we're looking for gold signals. And all I need to do is open up my indicator settings now and change those checkboxes. So for our long, we want a gold long signal, and for our short, a gold short signal. And like before, we're now going to combine these. So I don't care if I get a silver or a gold. I want to take an entry no matter which one it is. So I'll add one of these OR nodes. So if we get silver or we get gold, then I want to see my result on the chart. I want to see those racing stripes in Bloodhound. So if I click, actually, I'm going to save. I think we're done here now. All we needed was our entry logic because we're going to build our profit target and stop loss inside Blackbird itself. So I'm going to name this our super signal entry logic. Okay. And then I'm going to save the template. Super signal entry. Okay, so I click OK. And now we can see it's highlighting the gold and silver signals just like we wanted it to. Now I'm going to go right ahead and open up strategies and Blackbird. Shark indicators, Blackbird. Do the usual, turn off exit on session close. Enable backtesting and enable it. I click OK. And right away, we're going to open up the order settings for Blackbird. And in our signals here, we're going to click Bloodhound signals again. And we're going to load that template we just created. Now it was called Super Signal Entries. Click there. And we don't need an exit signal template in this case. We just need our Super Signal Entry Logic entry template. For our order set, we're going to take a market entry. And here is now where we're going to set our profit target and our stop loss. So this is up to us to test to find what is a reasonable way to manage our loss or take our profits here. We're on the daily chart on Apple. I'm just going to take a wild guess and make our target and our stop based on an ATR. So for our profit target, we're going to do 2x ATR, but I'm going to bump that up a bit. It's a little tight, maybe to 6x ATR. So 6 times the average true range above our entry price. Okay, 6x ATR. And for our stop loss, we're going to do a trailing stop, 1.5x ATR trailing. And I'm also going to make that 6. So we're going to do trail and target by 6 times the ATR. Okay. And our trailing actions here, the action move to last 1.5x ATR. I don't want it to trail right up to the 1.5. Let's let it trail up to the 4. Okay, 4 times the ATR. So we have this dynamic little ATR-based trailing stop. And one thing I want to do is, let's say we take a long trade here, and I've got my trailing stop in, I've got my target in. If I get an opposing silver signal in that case, or an opposing gold signal, I don't want to do that. I don't want to reverse my trade now. I want to wait until I hit my trailing stop or I hit my profit target. So I'm going to ignore any incoming gold or silver signals until my trade is closed. And the way you would do that here is it's actually right in Blackbird. You clicked in options and disable opposite signals force reversal trade. So we don't want that anymore. I'm going to disable that. So now it's going to let our trades ride until we hit our target or our stop loss. Okay. Click OK. I'll have to click F5. I have no idea how this will perform. Wait for it to calculate. Our stop loss and our profit target might be a little too wide. I wouldn't want us to never hit our stop or for it to be very low. Okay, here we hit a profit target. Here we got a market entry. Hit a profit target. I don't see us hitting stop losses. Here we hit a stop loss finally. So it's not too loose. Sell market, hit a stop loss. And actually right now, we've been long on Apple in this logic since the beginning of February 2nd, or 3rd. And we've been long all the way till today. Our target is up here at 174. We went long around 145 or 150, 148 maybe. And our stop loss trailing is around here, around 155. So it seems like it's doing all right. And obviously we would check the historical performance, but you need to also take into account that we're also using auto-optimized indicators. So the performance tends to be good because we're looking at the optimized settings, right? That's why it's key to use auto re-optimization going forward. So you're always adapting to market conditions. So here, you know, it had, 9.39 profit factor, probably very few trades, 4 trades. We're on the daily chart here. But I hope this kind of explained clearly how you can easily set up and manage your risk with Blackbird itself without needing indicators. And another thing we won't get into, there's a lot of good resources on YouTube from Shark Indicators, is you can set up your risk with, risk reward ratios, and also setting the sizing for your trades based on the percentage of your account you want to risk. So there's a lot of ways to dynamically manage your position entries and exit sizing. So are there any questions, Daniel?
Yeah, just a couple of comments. So, Mark was wondering, well, since some of the scenarios we're covering here, in theory, we could have done the same thing using the NT8 strategy builder. So why would I need Bloodhound or Blackbird for that? And that's a very valid question. You may not need it, but just many users find Bloodhound, Blackbird easier to use. It's a question of preference. And of course, with Bloodhound, you can create very complex conditions and scenarios very quickly because they have so many different options to choose from and combination options. We could only touch the surface here. And again, this is not our tool anyways, it's a third-party tool. But if you look through all these functions available, all these solvers, all the logic options, you can clearly see how fast you can create something extremely complex using Bloodhound, which might be very cumbersome or impossible using the strategy builder of NT8.
For sure. There's a lot of stuff you can do with Bloodhound that you cannot do with the strategy builder.
Yeah. Perfect.
Okay, so I'm going to jump over to the next strategy now. So the next strategy, or actually, Daniel, if anybody has not known about the super signals.
Yeah, so we also have a lifetime special available for our super signals package, and we call this the super signals premium package. So Nicholas, if you expand this a little bit, you can see that in this package, we include all our power bundle indicators. I think it's animated. Yeah.
Oh,
so
sorry,
we have 1, 2, 3 strike, we have Divergence Cloud, we have Volatility Crusher, but we also have the confluence-based signals, which are our gold signals, our bronze signals, our silver signals, and our platinum signals. We have bundled this one up as well for live as our super signals bundle. If you're interested, go to tradingindicators.com/super. and you will get it for live for a limited time. And of course, we also do have our money back guarantee for this package as well. If you already have the power bundle and want to upgrade to super signals, you simply reach out to us or to me and we can work something out. And if you may think on the next slide, Nicholas, that I don't need the 1, 2, 3 strike and the underlying indicators, I only want the super signals. A package for this as well. It's called Super Signals Standalone. It will only give you the platinum, gold, silver, and bronze signals and the ability to create your own custom super signals, which is also part of the previous bundle as well. And if you're interested in this, go to tradingindicators.com/signals. And this one you can get for $7.97 for life.
Thank you. Okay. Are there any new questions, Daniel, or can I go ahead to the next example?
There's a question about how can we you create a second order set, for example, entering into 2 contracts and maybe scaling out. This is a more advanced topic, but there are so many resources available on the web how to do this. I think even on the homepage of Bloodhound/Blackbird, you can see some examples how you can enter into multiple contracts. When a signal occurs, scaling in, and then use one of the trading stops, for example, to scale out of your position.
Yeah. Okay, so the next strategy we're going to look at is going to be based on our super trend bullseye indicator, which again is an auto-optimizing indicator. It optimizes itself, and in this case, it optimizes the classic super trend indicator. So it's basically super trend, but it's always finding the best possible settings to use for your period and multiplier, and using those on the chart to give you the best profit possible, hopefully. So what this strategy will do is it will enter on Supertrend entries in its first form. And there's going to be 2 versions of it. One will be the market reversal strategy, which is how Supertrend's intended to be used. In this case, you go long when there's a long entry, and then you hold the trade, you let it trail until there is an opposing entry in the opposite direction, a short entry. In that case, you would reverse the position entirely and go short. And you'd continue doing this. You're always in the market. And then we're also going to show a case where you might only want to use the long signals from Supertrend Bullseye. And in that case, you would probably want to have a stop loss set to trail alongside the indicator's plot. So that Supertrend line. We're going to show how you can do that. So let's open up charts, Microsoft, Tesla. Okay, so this was the 60-minute chart, and I think we loaded a bunch of data. I don't know if we're going to need all that data. Maybe reduce it a bit so we load faster. And I'm just going to clear the chart. We're going to put Supertrend Bullseye on it to start with. So open up my indicators, take off 1, 2, 3 strike and volatility crusher, and go into trading indicators and select super trend bullseye. So here's super trend bullseye applied to the chart. Let me just take off Blackbird, disable, and remove. So here is super trend bullseye. As you can see, it's got this little statistics panel on the top right and this widget that you can drag around and use to edit the different parts of the indicator. Click optimize. And what we want to do at first is we want to generate entry signals whenever there's a buy, a green signal, or a red signal here with this white short entry. That'll be buy, sell, etc. So we're going to open up Bloodhound.
And Niklas, real quick, on my screen, these are blue and white.
And oh, yes, green. I just meant the green and red colors that we'll see in Bloodhound once we get them.
Got it.
Okay, so Bloodhound full trial right here. And click a new template. And we're going to do the classic move. We open up a threshold solver. We're going to call that super trend bullseye signals. And for our indicator, we need to come down here, go to trading indicators, super trend bullseye. And as usual, if you're running this real time, we always suggest using reoptimize automatically. Great feature. But down here, we need to select our plots for buy and sell. Sorry, one moment, Daniel. Replug in my mouse.
No problem.
Okay, pardon me.
And so, real quick, while you do this, Niklas, when you use optimize automatically or reoptimize automatically, if that's enabled, keep in mind that, again, the indicator may change parameters and you may not get the exit signal where you expected if you're in a trade. So use this of caution, and perhaps you may not want to enable it if you are in a live trade. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, especially for something like a super trend, you might end up being long and you'll never hit your stop loss because when it reoptimizes, it's short and the logic might screw up. So always pay attention and test what you're doing before you run it live. So for our plots here, we want the buy plot to be our long signal and the sell plot to be our short signal. That's done. We click OK. The next step, as always, go to threshold settings and change that short signal to a greater than 0. And now that's all we need. We're going to drag it in to our result, and we should get those stripes on the chart. Let me just rename this logic and save our template. And then we're going to get out of Bloodhound and into Blackbird. So super trend bullseye logic. Okay. So we see we have those stripes appropriately on our long and short signals. The next thing we're going to do is open up Blackbird. So now we can just trade them with that always in the market reversal strategy we spoke about. So we double click on Blackbird, click backtest mode, enable, and we're not going to exit on session close. Click OK. Click on our order settings. And for this first iteration here, all we need to do is select a Bloodhound signal, load up our template, super STBE logic right here. And all we need is our entry signal template. And for our order set, we'll just take a market entry of 1. And now we can just click OK. And once we hit F5 and refresh the chart, it should be doing that always in the market type of trading. So yes, here we went long right after this signal. Then we go short, long, etc. If we right click on the chart and go to historical performance, what do we get? We have a profit factor of 2.49. And if you look at our statistics that Supertrend Bullseye optimized to generate, it told us our profit factor theoretically was 2.48, which came very close, obviously. So these statistics are quite reliable. Now, this is easy to do. We've already seen this, right? This type of reversing strategy with just entries. But what if we don't? What if we looked in our historical performance? And for example, in this case, we have a 1.91 profit factor on the long side, 2.9 on the short side. But let's say that was reversed. Let's say we had much higher on the long side and it always failed on the short side. Well, maybe we wouldn't want to take those short trades, right? Maybe we want to ignore these signals. So how would we do that? Well, let's hop in over here. we would be able to manage that through Blackbird. So let's open up Blackbird order settings. And in this case, what we want to do is we only want to take that long entry, correct? So when we get, and I don't know if this is the most efficient way to do it, but this is just how I'm doing it in this case. But if we look down here in Blackbird, and if we open up a cursor data window, if we can see, every time that we get one of these signals, it generates a value of 1. So we get, for a short signal, it's -1 every time. Now in Blackbird, I want to ignore my short signals. So if I come in here in my options, I'm just going to increase this. So I want it to be 2. I know it only ever goes to 1. I want to ignore those signals. So I never want them to exceed the threshold. So I'm going to set that to 2. And hopefully now if we click OK, we should get a long entry somewhere that then probably never closes out because we're never getting those short signals. Oh.
Ha, the joys of having a
exception.
live demonstration.
All right, then. I'm going to do it a different way then. Okay. So let me see if we are frozen here. No, we are not. Good. Delete this line I had drawn. And actually, this brings up a good point. I can show you another thing I haven't demonstrated yet. So let's close out a Bloodhound entirely. And what we're going to do is we're going to build the whole thing in Blackbird. So we actually don't even need Bloodhound to do a strategy that's this simple, which is quite interesting. So I'll open up Blackbird here, click Enable again, go to Order Settings. I might have to close my chart. Seems to be thinking that I still have, oh, I might have set a threshold too high. I think I need to close entirely, or maybe just close out Blackbird. Bear with me, folks. Second. Here we go. Open Blackbird once more. Backtest, enable, don't close on session. All right, let's cross our fingers. If not, I will have to close the chart and open up a new one. Okay, here we go. So we're not going to use a Bloodhound signal this time. We're just going to base it on an indicator. So our indicator is going to be Supertrend Bullseye. Okay, double click on that. And for our buy, we want our buy plot will be our long entry and our sell plot will be our short entry. But we don't want short entries, right? So if you remember, we have that rule I told you about in Bloodhound, where using our indicators, you always want it to be greater than for short signals. So when you want a long entry signal, you want the buy plot to be greater than 0. When you want a short entry signal, you want the sell plot to be greater than 0. So if I wanted short entry signals, I would have to set this to greater than. I don't want them. So I'm just going to leave it at less than. They're never going to generate. So now we have our logic for our entry. I can now click a market entry. Okay. And at this point, hopefully what we'll see, and we're not done with the strategy, is that it will take, refresh, and see if I have the strategy.
Yeah, you won't see it because it never closes. But if you go to historical, you should be able to see that one order being placed at the very first long entry signal.
Great. Yeah. I'm just waiting on this to calculate. It seems to be lagging. Okay, there we go. Okay, so we took that entry and we're now down, I guess. It never exited, right? We had that first entry and we had no exit logic. So let's create our exit logic, go back to order settings. And what we want to do is we want to trail with that plot, right? When we get these long signals, we want a stop loss to trail with the super trend plot. So we have no target. We have a stop loss though. We're going to click add stop loss and we'll go to custom. And in here, we want our initial placement for our stop type order to be not based on a price, but based on an indicator value. And the indicator we want it to be based on is Supertrend Bullseye. And it's hard to read this plot here. There's not a lot of room on my screen, but this plot says Supertrend Trailing Stop. There we are. So for our long trades, we want to use the Supertrend Trailing Stop as our initial stop price. All right. But we don't want it to just stay there statically. We want it to trail. So initially it sets it to the Supertrend Trailing Stop, but now we need a trailing action. And in trailing actions, we want custom movement. So we're going to set this up. Evaluate, use action closest to price. Okay, we need to set a trailing rule. So when is it going to trail? Now, I watched some tutorials on Blackbird, and this seemed to be the way they suggested along these lines. So it's not too intuitive, but I'll show you. So we have a trailing rule. We want it to trigger at some specific time. Now, I want it personally to always be trailing, right? I don't want to have some condition. I just want it to trail all the time. I always want it to get tighter. I don't have some condition. So what I'm going to do is select type price versus indicator. And there are other ways to do this. And for my input A, I'm going to say the close price. And for input B, I'm also going to say a price, a close price. And this is kind of like a trick, but I want this trailing stop to start trailing or to trigger its trailing capacity whenever the close price is equal to or above the close price, which is all the time, right? It's always equal to itself. So this is going to cause the trailing stop to always be trailing. And the action I want it to take is move to the last indicator value, super trend bullseye, trailing stop. So all the time, I want it to be trailing to the latest value of the super trend trailing stop. And I only want it to move in the direction of the trade. So the trailing stop will only ever get tighter. And when do I want this to repeat? Once per bar, X times. I want it to repeat indefinitely. I always want it to happen. So if this worked out, I think I did it correctly. If we click OK, we shouldn't see this loss here. Our last stop, our last long trade should have stopped out around here. Let's wait for this to load. It's calculating.
And of course, this is just one way how this can be done. An easier way, perhaps, and of course, we just want to show all the options that are available, is to simply use the short signal of super trend bullseye as your exit. So you could have done that too, but let's have a look.
So here, I think I did something incorrectly, as we got a long entry here, which did not stop out until all the way over here, right over here, when that should have been this long trade closing out. Oh, you know what this was, Daniel? Is that because I'm using a stop loss order with super trend bullseye, the indicator is doing it based on bar close, where I'm actually doing it on bar touch. So this long trade, if it was in on bar touch, should have closed out over here. Let me try to fix that. Go into our order settings, super trend bullseye, the action closest to the price. Okay, okay. Let's see if we move the indicator on the chart to on bar touch, on touch. On touch. Okay. And then let's do the same for our Blackbird strategy. And here we're going to set super trend bullseye with on touch. Okay. And our trailing stop again with on touch. Oh, already knew. Here on touch. So I think I have addressed it in all spots. Let's see what happens.
The joys of doing a live demo.
Yes, yes.
And actually, when Nicholas said earlier, hey, I don't know how this will pan out, he was not lying, because we literally just built this, I put this together minutes before this webinar. So.
Yeah, so these are things it's hard to first see. So for here, for example, now you can see it is working as we would expect it. Here it took this long trade and it stopped out. The reason for that is that Blackbird was using an actual simulation of a real stop loss order, whereas we had super trend bullseye set to only stop out a trade when the bar closes below the stop loss, not just touches it, which was what should happen with a trailing stop if you actually have it placed as a stop type order with your broker. So now that we've changed them both to on touch mode, things are matching up and it looks good. So that's how you can set Super Trend Bullseye up to trade only one direction and actually trade based on an indicator's trail, based on an indicator's plot. So I hope that was helpful, and apologies for the delay there.
No, that was great. And I think this is something that you sometimes can expect if you try to create your own vision of a strategy, of an indicator. Don't be discouraged if things don't work out right away. Because nothing really, we're in simulation mode, nothing bad can happen. All you need to do is to figure out what went wrong, as Nicola did very quickly here, and then, try to fix it. And this is just part of the game. It's part of rolling up your sleeves and, getting your hands dirty and trying to program on your own, or create something on your own. And this is not a setback. It's just part of the game. And just don't be discouraged if something doesn't work right away. And actually can be quite satisfying if something goes wrong and eventually figure out what it was. So it's a cool feeling for me as a programmer. And I hope one day you're going to experience that as well. And was one comment real quick. You don't have to set up this particular strategy where we close out, or we only take long trades and we close out these long trades when an opposite signal comes up. As I mentioned before, you could have simply used Bloodhound, where you use the long trades as your entry and the short trades as your exit, and just build a strategy around that. You would have gotten the same result much quicker. But the purpose here was to show you how we can use an indicator plot as your trading stop. And this is what Nicola was demonstrating.
Definitely. And thinking about the issue we had there with Super Trend Bullseye, the issue actually was that I had been using Blackbird on this chart before. So one of the indicators I used had the setting to on touch and the other ones were all on close. I didn't notice. Once we put them all to the same settings, finally worked, but it goes to show, be careful with your settings in these strategy building programs.
And while you're on this chart, and Mark wants to know what's the trade performance of this particular strategy right now.
But
we only have
two trades here. Yeah, maybe if we extended it out, but also with Super Trend Bullseye, it's only going to go back historically as much as our optimization period. So it's meant to be run in real time going forward more. If we extended it, we could see more. In this case, though, our profit factor would be whatever the long profit factor we have here is. Let's check it out. I would assume maybe 1.65.
Yeah, perfect. All right, I think we answered all the questions. So let's quickly go back to the slides. So if you're interested in our Super Trend Bullseye indicator, we have it available for NinjaTrader, of course, but also for TradingView and MotiveWave, just like all our other indicators as well. We have them for all major platforms. And if you're interested, we do have a lifetime special available for $747. You get this indicator for life, again, with our 7 days money back guarantee. And all you need to do is to go to tradingindicators.com/bulls. And as you've seen, we've extended the classic super trend indicator with all kinds of cool features, such as auto optimization. We have a different trading mode, which we call percent trading, which doesn't limit you to the stop and reverse trading style, which is the main trading style of super trend. We have a lot of statistics for this indicator, not just the win rate, but also the actual profit factor of the trades. How many pips or ticks you would have made. You can optimize based on profit target. You can optimize based on tick performance. We have a reverse on touch mode, and so forth. So if you're interested, simply go to tradingindicators.com/bulls.
And Daniel,
yes.
Sorry, I have one question from Ben Maltz. I don't know if you answered it already, but he already has 1, 2, 3 strike. He wants to know how is he able to download the new version?
Oh yes, I already had answered him, and I will send out an email later on today to all our existing customers of the power bundle or of the individual indicators. And you will get instructions on how to get the latest version of the indicator, which we just published today.
Thank you.
And just to wrap it up, if you go to the next slide, Nicholas, so maybe expanded. Yeah, so if you're interested in any of the indicators shown today, here's a quick reminder. So for the power bundle, which consists of 1, 2, 3 strike, Divergence Cloud, and Volatility Crusher, simply go to tradingindicators.com/power, like power bundle. If you're interested in our Super Signals Indicators package, the premium package, which also includes the power bundle, go to tradingindicators.com/super. If you want the super signal standalone version, which only has the super signals but doesn't have the individual indicators, go to tradingindicators.com/signals. And for super trend bullseye, go to tradingindicators.com/bulls. And as you've seen, all of these are fully compatible with Bloodhound and Blackbird, and all 4 packages do have full auto optimization. All right, and again, we have these indicators available for lifetime. All right, so let's go to the last slide. If you have questions, and I'm going to open the room up for questions in just a second, but if there's a question which hasn't been answered in this webinar, simply reach out to us at tradingindicators.com, and we have a contact form on our homepage. So please write your question there. We are so happy about every single feedback that we're getting. Most of the features that we have available in our indicators right now, they are based on or driven by feedback that we have received from our users. So thank you so much for that. And yes, keep them coming. Also, if you already have the power bundle and want to upgrade to the super signals, or perhaps you have an individual indicator like 1, 2, 3 strike and you want to upgrade, simply reach out to us, send me a quick note, and we will work something out. All right. So now for Mark wants to know, do we have an offer for Bloodhound and Blackbird? Actually, no, these are not our tools. These are third-party tools. So we do not have a special offer for that. You need to find or get your own offer, unfortunately. And yeah, this was just a webinar, again, which was requested from some of our users who have asked us, hey, Daniel or Niklas, can you show us how to use Bloodhound with your indicators, or how to use Blackbird with your indicators? And it took us a while, probably half a year, to put this together, but we finally delivered. And this was the webinar which was requested by quite a few users of us. This concludes today's webinar. Thank you so much for your attention. I hope you found it useful. And this was a webinar which was long overdue, and we're so happy to finally deliver it today. And again, if you have questions, please reach out to us. You are the ones that drive our progress. So we're happy for every question, every suggestion, every feedback, and we're happy to answer all your questions. So with this, please have a great evening or a great morning or a great afternoon, wherever you are. And hopefully we see you soon at our next Tech Talk in 2 weeks' time. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.